Today on Metaphysical Mississippi, we have Hadley Thorne. She is a Mississippi based author as well as founder of Wyrd Realities Network. She'll be sharing her new book release, DAWNBREAKER, The House of Blood and Sun, which will be released on Amazon on St. Patty's Day, March 17th. She'll share about her book as well as some new exciting things happening with Wyrd Realities Network. Enjoy the show. Welcome to Metaphysical Mississippi. I'm your host, Emily, and your co-host with us is also Krista. And today we have Hadley Thorne back with us. How you doing,
Hey,
Hadley?
Happy to be here. How are y'all?
Oh, we're doing great. Oh, we're so excited. I noticed that you have a book that's about to come out in March, and we're so excited to have you on here to talk about it. It's DAWNBREAKER, The House of Blood and Sun, and you have it set to be, it's on pre-order now, is that correct?
Yes, it's pre-order and it should be available for purchase on the 17th for St. Patrick's Day.
I love that. So with it being St. Patrick's Day, that means you may have a little bit of a
Luck of the Irish, right?
Yes, luck of the Irish. So
well, this book has heavy Celtic overtones in it, so I really wanted to take advantage of that. I listened to a lot of Celtic music when I was writing, and like I said, it's got the Celtic overtones and backstory, and so I really wanted to take advantage. And when it was moving closer to March, I thought, I'm just going to wait. The 17th will be a lucky day.
Yes, it will be. Well, so this is, I've noticed that it's a new installment with the Tapestry, with your Tapestry of Worlds book series that you already have, but this takes place, is it really a prequel, or is it just to some of the other books that you have already?
Yes, I've got the Tapestry of the White Raven Awakens and the follow-up Running and Gunning, which they coincide at the same time period. And I have a third installment of that I'm working on. It's just taken longer than I had hoped. But this kind of came up, it started off as a Kindle Vella project. And when I stopped working for the disaster place, in, I guess, May, I decided I was going to revamp it and just kind of make it a whole novel on its own, and rewrote it. And I've been working on it since then. So yeah, that's kind of it. The thing about the Tapestry of Worlds is the basis of the world building that I use is based on the 9 worlds of Norse mythology. So this is taking place in the other world, which is the world of the elves. So what I borrowed from mythology is the Tuatha De Danann, the elven she. And so in my story, there's a particular tribe of the she that have come to Mississippi. And so they've been living under Emerald Mound. And so I call it Emerald City under the Mound, and that's where they live. And so, you know, for those who are familiar with the Tuatha De Danann, they're the mound dwellers. They are the she that moved under the hills in Ireland. So,
do you know?
So
I don't know any of this stuff.
Like 10 questions now from just that.
Okay, go on, Krista. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, when you say, okay, so I'm not that familiar really with any mythologies really, but you know, I just pick up a little here and there. The elven she, are you spelling that S-H-E?
No, it's pronounced she, like S-H-E-E, but it is spelled S-I-D-H-E.
S-I-D-H-E. Okay.
Cool, and this is they're basically considered the children of the goddess Danu, D-A-N-U. And so I just kind of took the mythos that I was familiar with and made it my own and put it into my world. Some of the characters from the Tapestry books, from White Raven Awakens and Running and Gunning, will appear in it. But it's just, again, I want all of the pieces of my books to fit together like a puzzle. So for me, that's more fun, and with 9 worlds to explore, I've got a lot of books to write. So like I said, it's, to me, when I started developing this whole Tapestry of Worlds, that's the way I wanted to weave it together, was basically just like friends that like I know Krista and I know Emily, and I've met some of your friends, and so I could put all these people into a story because they're all interconnected, but each story is your own. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to have that reality into it of how we all fit together in each other's lives.
So the 9 worlds of Norse mythology. So that's a thing in Norse mythology, right? Like that's,
yes.
Okay. And so in your universe that you've created with your books, there are 9 different worlds or dimensions or storylines, if you want to say it that way, going on. And are they aware of each other? I've read some of your books, so I kind of think I know some of the answers to that, but are there all these different worlds going on simultaneously?
Yes.
Okay.
The way that the Norse have it is you have the tree of life, the Yggdrasil. And so with that, you have, for me in the Tapestry books, I've got vampires. I've got but the vampire elders, the Dragoors, I think is what I called them in the books, that the elders went back to the land of the dead, and that's one of the worlds. So there's that access there, but the vampires that have been left have evolved into what we know vampires to be. So, and that's so I've kind of taken the myth and just, again, kind of tweaked it, make it my own. It just took a little bit of creative license there, and I've gone from there. So, which, if you listen to any of our podcast for Wyrd Realities, you'll see there's a lot of the research that I do we'll talk about there, because the vampires, they're doing research, and they're finding out that vampires can only feed on the Rh negative blood. That's the only one that'll sustain them. But that's something that's coming. I haven't gotten there yet, but it comes from my own delve into Rh negative blood. So little things like that pop up.
I heard that podcast, the Rh negative blood, but now I see how you're saying you sprinkle it in and it all kind of fits together, and things will be revealed as you go. Let's just refer back. You said Wyrd Realities. We have had you on before, well, several times before. And for someone, if this is their first time here, Hadley, you do have share a little bit about what Wyrd Realities is for us. It's now Wyrd Realities Network.
Yes, Wyrd Realities started off being a podcast that my editor and I started, and where the first episode we talk about Rh negative blood types, and then and that was just where Gracie and I would get together and talk. Well, it kind of started growing. We got approached to start doing some interviews with some nonfiction authors. And so it took a turn there. And so we started doing both. And from there, I write fiction. This is so silly when I say it out loud, but when I was really stressed out dealing with some personal things, my go-to for release was zombie fiction. I've always loved zombie movies. And so I'd never read zombie books, but I was reading survivalist books. And so a lot of them kept being suggested. So a new movie was coming out, Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. And with that, I thought, I'm going to get some of these. And I was calling them, because in my profession, we call SMEs, or subject matter experts, SMEs. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to have these zombie authors come on, and they'll be my subject matter experts for zombie apocalypse, and we'll do a panel discussion after this movie. And again, so I hooked up with these people like Alan Gamboa and Scott Baker, and it just kind of grew from there. So we started adding more and more shows and meeting new people, and we've just kind of became this family. And from that, we're doing, I think, 6 different podcasts right now. But
Wow.
but they're all I call it under the umbrella, because I do the marketing, and we all use the same StreamYard. We just kind of pull our resources together, and we get together when we can. There are times we'll talk about writing. There's times we'll talk about weird stuff. There's times that we'll talk about books. I mean, what we have coming up. So that's kind of where we shifted to the network. I say network with a wink, kind of like a TV station, or kind of like a spider web, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at now, which we're growing, and we've partnered with Metaphysical Mississippi, which I'm super excited about, because there's just a lot of potential for us being able to help each other and to grow what we're doing and support one another. And I love it. So it's great.
What I enjoy is kind of like, a live show's coming up, this week, and y'all appear to be pretty consistent. So like, it's nice, kind of like that Thursday night or that Saturday night, or catch them at different times than the live time. But I've really enjoyed
That's what she said.
the campfire one.
Yeah, and that's Bethany Stutzman. She's another author, and her lifelong best friend, Crystal Michelle, and they have a great dynamic. I love those 2 girls.
They do.
Bethany is someone I wanted to work with for a long time, because she just has such a dynamic personality.
Yeah, but you really feel like I love how they talk about, take scary stories and stuff. And then of course,
my favorite,
the weird
A Wyrd Awakenings is my favorite.
yes, Wyrd Awakenings is fun too.
That's the one I try to listen to. I don't catch the live very often, but I try to when y'all post those to YouTube, I try to listen to those every week if I can. So that's the one I'm consistent with.
Well, and they're up, and also whenever, and this is, since we're growing in, it's like I said, so far I'm trying to get everybody trained so they can kind of back me up, but we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon, we're on Apple, we're on all the places. So if you just want to listen to a podcast, download it. It'll sound live, but often it's not. So
Right.
But we do stream live on YouTube and on our Facebook.
And I think it's a great resource for to hear creative authors and who think outside the box. I mean, I know you've got many other podcasts and that deal with y'all do have creative people coming in who work in film, as well as also just authors who publish.
Well, we have traditionally and independent authors. So some of these people, like Rich Restucci, that he works with a publishing house and they do everything for him. But then you have the indie authors like Joseph Hansen, Alan Gamboa, myself. You've got David Muga. You've got Bethany, and we just recently brought on the Martones, Daniel and Laura Martone, and they're actually, their background is both in film, but they do the independent writing thing. They do zombie books with their cat, but they also do like space opera and stuff.
Okay, you had Emily a cat.
Right. No, I think I believe I watched one of those. You're right. I did see that. I mean, I saw one of their interviews.
Yeah, they go back and forth between New Orleans and Michigan. So they're awesome.
So Hadley, even though the Wyrd Realities, you're the podcast, but now the network, especially as you're bringing more partners in to collaborate with. I mean, there's something for everyone.
We do true crime. We're
Yeah.
doing, and we do this show called The Wild Women of Wyrd, where it's women only that get together and we'll watch a documentary, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Well, this month, before Valentine's Day, we did the new Pamela Anderson documentary, which somebody was like, well, what's the true crime in that? And I said, well, if you really think about what happened with Pamela Anderson, you've got that sex tape that was stolen from them.
Yes.
That's a crime.
But then not only that, but then the fact that she was, treated like a culprit instead of like a victim. And it was really, if you haven't got a chance to watch it, y'all should, because it really changed my opinion about her.
I need to watch it.
Just and I haven't kept. I mean, I remember when that happened, and I haven't watched the documentary yet. But as a just regular person, when all that happened, I'm thinking about what my impression was of it. And I remember not, quote, judging her husband. That was Tommy Lee. Is that who that was? I judged her.
I think everybody did. And then, so we were talking about, well, how can we really make this a valuable conversation? And it's like, well, could that have happened now?
And I didn't think poor Tommy Lee. I thought poor Pamela Anderson. But because not only, it's like I looked at her in both ways as well, that was stupid. She shouldn't have done that. And then also I did look at her as a victim, but I looked at her as a bless her heart victim. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bless her heart. She just didn't know better. Well, no, I mean, that was stolen from her.
Well, it's really interesting. And like I said, y'all ought to tune in tomorrow night, because we're supposed to do it tomorrow night, I think.
Okay.
In which by the time this airs, it will have been out. Y'all can find it and watch it later. But yeah, it was just so terrible. But she had just had a miscarriage. This was stolen from a vault. The entire vault was stolen from their home. And the video made it look like it was just like one encounter, but it was spliced together multiple intimate moments of a husband and wife, a new husband and wife. Mm-hmm. And so you have these newlyweds who their privacy's been violated, but we blamed the victim on this. We really blamed her, and he just got slaps on the back. And then, and that's for me, what really made it even better for me to want to talk about is this what happened to their relationship? I was
just thinking that as you were talking, what a strain.
And I'm telling y'all, if y'all go back and look at some of the conversations that these male, I guess, like, hosts of these night shows, they were so crude to her. And it's like, why did they think that was appropriate? And again, it's a lot of things have changed since the 80s and 90s when this happened. And so it's like I said, it's very interesting, especially for people like us who were around and remember the hype, to see how far we've come as a society. And and then like I said, for me, not that I've ever really thought about Pamela Anderson, but I kind of just went with the group about, they did that on purpose. That was to get publicity. And I never thought about how completely horrible and judgmental that was of me. So we're going to have a good conversation about it.
I saw the Hulu series that had came out.
And there was a lot of lies in that.
But I didn't watch the whole thing. I didn't finish it, but I saw
enough.
Yeah. But I did see her as a victim.
Kind of stuff now. I'm like, I'm gonna have to think about this, because I just kind of blown her off. I didn't really think anything negatively of it, but I'm kind of thinking like, that totally changed the trajectory of her life. Whether she made a bad judgment call or not, it's not even the issue.
It destroyed her career.
Yes, and her personal life. And to never be taken seriously. I mean, a lot of us, I think we, as a society, think, oh, the blonde bombshell. We when you say Pamela Anderson, we remember the running down the beach,
Yeah.
flopping, and that's all we think about her. I'm sure there's a lot more to her than that.
Well, she's apparently doing a Broadway show now and doing very well. But I mean, and it was great to see that she is recovered from what all happened, but it did kind of, ruin her life for 30 years. But she was victimized as a child. She was abused. And so she goes from that, and I don't know, she was 17 or 18 when she did Playboy, but she was very young. And she just became a victim of all these men. And it was really, really sad, but people saw her, they sexualized her, and that's all they looked at.
Right.
But enough about Pam.
Yeah.
They'll be able to find it.
Yeah, you'll be able to go to our YouTube or Spotify, and it'll be on. So just look for those Wild Women of Wyrd, because that's
Wild Women of Wyrd. Yes.
Yeah.
So now let's get back to Dawnbreaker, The House of Blood and Sun. Its release is going to be for ebook on Amazon March 17th, but you are taking pre-orders, and coming soon will be paperback as well as Audible in the future, correct?
Yes. I'm real weird about voices, so for Audible. And so, and if those anyone has listened to my audibles for the White Raven Awakens and Running and Gunning, you'll see I've got a guy that he's reading that storyline for me because I love his voice.
Yes.
And I have to find the right female to do this one. So.
So we're gonna have a female voice for the Dawn.
I'm thinking so. I've got to find the right one.
Okay. Oh, now I have a question. You said this was the idea for this story first came about when you did a Kindle Vella. If someone has not read that, how are they the same story, or did you kind of go off a little bit?
Well, when I had it on Kindle Vella, I had not finished it yet, so obviously the ending's very different. But what I did is the Kindle Vella version was strictly from Nev, the main character's point of view. And when I rewrote it, I put Connor's point of view in as well. So it has Nev chapters, and then now it has Connor chapters. And in doing so, there was a lot of rewriting so that worked. It's a standalone book right now, but it has and the Count Elkmar from Tapestry, the White Raven Awakens, that's her brother. And he's been exiled from the Elven world. It's Count Andreas Elkmar, and he is the Lord of the Wild Hunt and the future king of the Unseelie Court. But he was the high prince for the Shining Court, which is the Seelie Court, which is where she's the princess of. But he was exiled by their mother. So, like I said, it's all there.
And so the Dawn book, that could be read for, like you said, that's a standalone. You could read that book and without reading the other Tapestry books. And
yes, and probably, I mean, and it's being marketed towards as a paranormal romance, or it's still metaphysical, but it's going to have more romantic overtones in it than the White Raven and the Running and Gunning do.
Let's talk about the setting of the book.
Okay.
I know that you like to bring in Mississippi in your books, and this time it's set in Natchez. Is that correct?
Yes. The original name for Natchez was Fort Rosalie, so I just used the old name for Natchez in my books. So Fort Rosalie is Natchez. And like I said, Emerald Mound is there, and the city cemetery, there's a scene there with the angel statue. And so there's just a little bit of spice of Mississippi in it. So I love Mississippi, and I want everybody else to love it too. So
yes. So another question. Okay, so this book is a standalone. You don't have to have read the other books in the series, but also, is it necessary for a person to be familiar with Norse mythology or Celtic? Or
no, it's not as heavy with that. The Celtic myth kind of if you know the backstory, like I said, you'll recognize the names, but it's more, like I said, it's more of a love story. It's, I call them fated lovers. They're meant to be together, and so when they see each other, they instantly have this connection, and it's kind of like their stories, and that's what it is. It's their story.
Okay, and so in this book, the main character is going into different worlds. Are the different worlds on different timelines, or is it all this time? And of course, time is relative anyway, so subjective.
Yeah. Well, it's when they go into the other world, and that's what I call the Elven world, is everything is different. It's the world of the Fae, and it is very different than the modern world of our reality. So, like I said, she's going back and forth. So,
would it be fair or an easy way, in order if you person who's trying to compartmentalize, would you call that not the underworld like in shamanism, but is it underground? Well, it's probably just a different dimension, but you said the city is under the mound, or is that the world that's in the real world?
Well, I call it Emerald City, under the mound or under the hill, because they're, the mounds are where the fairies are supposed to live, where the elves, where the other, and I call it the other world, not the underworld. It's other.
The other world.
And so, is the world past the veil. And so she's going in and out of portals. And so you can look at it, however it works for you. That's the thing about reading, is it's all about how the reader interprets it. For me, as the writer, I can tell you what I thought, but it's really how the other person who's reading it interprets it. But yeah, so they're going in and out of portals, and that's the thing, is this world is one that steps sideways when there was a split, when magic left the realm of man. And that's kind of how, which, like I said, you kind of take Tolkien, kind of take the Norse, and it all kind of interweave together. You have Midgard, which is what the Norse call our realm, and guard means fence. So there was basically a fence built outside of our realm to keep the chaotic forces at bay and the influences. But that's like magic and these other worldly creatures, and they can come and go, but we can't see them, or can we? That, and that's kind of the way I look at my world. My worldview is that there is another dimension. We get glimpses of it from time to time, which is what I would say when I would say the veil's thin today. I can see the primordial forest. I can see this. I can, tap into that. And this is just, storytelling is my way of just sharing that with other people. So
storytelling is a way to introduce other thoughts and possibilities of what our reality really is. We don't know for sure, but a lot of not only the Celtic but the Native American, some of their mythology, you want to call it that, is that they didn't just build those mounds to bury their chief in. Like some of them would say those mounds were built. I don't think they called them fairy folk, because that wasn't what they called them in their their language, but that there were beings under
Yeah,
those mounds.
elemental beings. So they're everywhere, and that's kind of my worldview. I see things like that, so like, of course, I sprinkle it into my writing. But
And there's a lot of there's been a lot of comparisons made to the Celtic mounds and the Native American mounds. I mean, there may be a similar. The story may be the same. It's just
and that's my belief, is that the mounds, there's a purpose for the mounds and what the mounds are. And so, like I said, I've got notes where I'm connecting this and that, and just piecing it all together to make sense for myself. That's my process. It's just I'm trying to figure out a way for it to make sense for me.
Now, when you said that the Emerald City under the hill, but you're talking about the mound, right? Because Natchez has Natchez under the hill, which is right there on the river.
Right.
Bluff,
I just kind of bastardized that. Yeah. But it is the Emerald Mound.
Gotcha.
But it's also Dorothy and Oz too. I mean, like I said, the Emerald City.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. But no, I'm excited. I've told you before, I'm not a avid reader, but I love audibles. So it may be by the time you get an audibles, maybe the first time I read it, but I'm really looking forward to this story because, Emily and I grew up just across the river from Natchez. So we love Natchez. We love that whole area.
It's beautiful.
So,
I wish somebody would go. It's Vicksburg and Natchez both. They just need somebody with a lot of money to go in and redo them because they really are beautiful.
They are.
Yes. And Vicksburg's got some magic over there too. That military park. Ooh, there's some stuff in that military park. That's for another podcast, but there's some stuff over there.
Oh, I'm just gonna mention. Oh, I'm sorry, Hadley.
I'm actually using River City in my third book.
Oh, good.
Okay, so when you say River City, that's Vicksburg.
Yep.
Something came to my mind. I was watching something and you were talking about portals. I mean, somebody else had mentioned portals. And I'm wondering, do you think that some of these battles were strategically planned to happen at certain portals? You know what I mean? Like a battle it makes sense to me that, that maybe the generals knew, okay, I can have extra power at this portal.
I would say most definitely during World War II, Hitler would have.
Yes.
Because Hitler was very into the occult, and for people who might not know, Hitler was very into the occult. If you haven't watched the History Channel,
Yeah.
But yes, I would definitely say that. But that's a definitely interesting concept. I have to think.
Emily, I hadn't thought about that. But even battles like, even if the generals weren't consciously in their 3D mind right here aware of it.
Yeah. Well, there's ley line power,
Yeah.
Because I lived by a battlefield when a battleground also. I mean, I know that you can pick up on a lot of stuff there in Vicksburg, but also Stone River's battle up in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I lived right on the outskirts of it. And I had a lot of, at the time, I didn't understand. I went through a lot of depression and just I felt oppression on me. And that was totally out of my character. And I was dealing with some homesickness because I lived somewhere away from family and all that. But now at this time of my life, I look back and I'm like, ooh, I'm an empath. That battleground is right there. I didn't know I was being influenced, or, there's probably kind of portal stuff all around there because a huge battle happened.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say portal stuff, but the land remembers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
yeah,
living being.
All the
yeah.
suffering that happened just in that.
And in the souls lost, there's probably a lot of souls trapped there, and you're probably picking up on their anguish.
Yeah, I wish I would have like realized that when I was there. Well, maybe I probably was aware, but
But you viewed it, I remember when you were there and you kind of viewed it in that the old demonic stuff instead of
yeah, because I was having some freak out moments.
and heavily into a charismatic church. So it was all
I was dealing with the things that brought up from my history of exorcisms and stuff that I'd seen as a child, and dealing with all that as an adult, and anyway, this podcast ain't about
that's a whole other podcast. We'll do that another
I was like,
time.
I want to listen.
sorry.
Yeah.
but no, but
We might have a drink before we do that one.
yeah, but no, but I mean, when you were talking about where you were setting it, the book, that I do think the setting is important, and all these portals. Now, when you say a portal, do you describe it in the book kind of like what was that, Stargate? I mean, I know it's not going to be like a Stargate portal, but is it just like you can slip behind a tree, and then when they're vertical, did you say it was a horizontal portal or a vertical portal to slip through into another time? Do they walk through something?
Yeah, I mean,
Physically?
for me, it's more like,
A wrinkle.
yeah, I mean, just like I don't know, like I guess the fabric of the world that we know just kind of becomes opaque, and you can just kind of ease through it.
Oh,
But
gotcha.
for her, like, she gets locked out, like she misses her portal. They're only open at certain times. And so she's, and she knows the ones that she can come and go from without detection. Because I mean, she's for an elven princess, she's very young, and so I mean, like, she's going into her coming of age, like her
Yeah.
I guess, what are you saying? Yeah, she's about to turn 21 in
Yeah.
people years, so she's sneaking
Debutante.
out of the house, and she's going to a bar, and she's playing Celtic music with the band, and she travels around with the band at night, but she has to be back through the portal at certain times. And so I explain that in the book, and just, and that's the thing about portals is, they're usually at in between places. So it has to be a certain hour. There's certain hours of the day where portals are more easily accessible. And all this is based on research and stuff that I've done, and my own belief in this. So, but in between places, doorways are called doorways for a reason, or portals are called doorways for a reason, because it's an in between two rooms. It's not one room or another. It's like if you are in a boat going across water, that's an easy place to find, because you're not really on land, you're not really on the water, you're in between. So twilight, dusk, those are in between places.
The liminal spaces.
Yeah. So that's a good time,
Yeah. So when I was just thinking about we're back in history. I mean, how much research did you do when you did research on, Norse mythology obviously was written a while back, and I apologize, I am not a history person. I don't know, but I can Google it. Okay. But this was before images were captured other than paintings, right?
Right.
Everything historically was recorded through words or passed down orally, and you would have paintings. But it just amazes me that only in this time can we capture images You know what I mean?
That we know of.
That we know,
That we-
that we know of. Yes, that we know of, and how the history of what is recorded of portals and stuff was just passed down through that we know of.
Well, there's a whole
Word.
belief out there that
Tell me about it, Hadley.
there was a world before this now. That the Great Flood happened, and the mud flood is what I've been told it is, and that there was a world more technologically advanced that existed before. We were actually discussing this recently about how I believe that people went into the caves when the Ice Age came, because it's warmer underground, so it just makes sense.
Yeah.
But then, then there are people, that evolved that, somehow where, made it through the Ice Age, but they lost all the technology and everything else. So there's just, I think we're finding out more and more that we don't really know what happened.
Yeah.
And it's a matter like what the whole Atlantis question, the Lemuria, the Mu, those things are very questionable when you start thinking about these great races. Where did they go and what happened to them? Did they disappear, or did they just go underground?
Oh, yeah.
Well, what's so interesting to me, and it doesn't really prove one way or another, but it just shows that number one, we don't know, and number two, I love these mysteries, but so many ancient civilizations or indigenous tribes, they have all these stories that were handed down, and how similar they are between different peoples all around the world. They're so similar. And either in both of these, and there's probably more than these two theories or possibilities, but the two possibilities that feel legitimate to me that I like to entertain is either there was these technology and these things happened that were in the mythology, like they happened, or there is this global consciousness that science, mainstream science, has not verified or admitted to, that we're all connected, and these are just stories, but they're stories that were in this global consciousness that these peoples made up. In other words, like this as we were evolving, we were all evolving. I don't know if I'm making sense. Am I making sense?
Me? I'm following you.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Either scenario is pretty cool. I mean, either scenario, it's like, and there's more than these two scenarios. I know there's lots of different possibilities that could be, but I'm like, that wasn't just coincidence. Either these things happened, or we're all, or we as a species evolved doing these things at the same time. Not because it's not just about stories, it's about our development, the technological developments. When things were happen, they were learning things in one part of the world that another part of the world was also learning. That's pretty interesting. If we just evolved, by the basic Darwinism theory, it's pretty interesting that we evolved it at the same time. I don't know. I'm rambling. I'm not a scientist.
And let me say this ties into something that I've been mulling around in my own head lately. Is I was trying to explain the states of consciousness to someone. And this is like, we were talking about shamanism, and they don't sleep much. They don't dream ever. And I was talking about my dream life is very active, and that I realized later that I was journeying when I didn't have any knowledge, but I just had always been doing it since I was a child. I just always journeyed and going, accessing, alternate places. Well, in looking for a diagram to show them, I found one that it talked about like the different states of consciousness. And one of the states is like, it was talking about the artistic consciousness, which is where the artist and the writers, I guess the music makers, that they pull from. And we were talking about this in another group about how, have you noticed that currently there's so much out there about the multiverse, that, you know, we're all talking about alternate dimensions. And this has been something that in the last like 5 to 10 years has been really prominent in books, in movies, in, you know, what is it, the Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, that's a big interest in that. And so is that pull that these people are all pulling from? And it's like, it's past the dream state and it's before the death state. And it was just, I keep saying I've got to find this diagram again, because it was really interesting. And I believe that. So what you're saying, and this is how I'm interpreting what you said, Krista, is that perhaps all these storytellers were pulling from that place.
And well, so I'm sure you're familiar with Jacques Vallée and the Passport to what's it called? Passport to Patagonia, or he was one of the in the early 20th century UFO. He actually was a consultant to Steven Spielberg for E.T. No, not E.T. Maybe
Is this the guy that was in South America with
he wasn't from South America, but that documentary that came out a couple of years ago about the guy who had the UFO experience as a child in South America, Jacques Vallée was, I think, one of the ones who.
Well, there's like a colony of people, and some people think it was the Nazis.
Oh, wait, you're talking about Patagonia. You're talking about the country Patagonia.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's a different topic. Well, everything's related, but no, in Jacques Vallée's book, he talks about well, his theory, which I kind of that it may just not be little green men coming from other planets. Like, this is probably things that are here. I'm talking about the UFO, the whole UFO thing. Not saying there's not other beings from other planets coming here. I think that's very possible.
Under the ground?
Well, different dimensions, maybe underground, maybe under the water, maybe living right next to us, like 3 feet from me, but it's just they're in a different, and they come through that veil at certain times. That may be part of what we're seeing. But anyway, I totally lost. What was I? Oh, okay. Here's where I was going with that. Is that if you go and look at the history of ufology, it seems to be, first people are seeing saucers, then they're seeing black triangles, and then they're seeing orbs, and then they're seeing, like, there tends to be trends. And people can say, well, people just, it's out in the zeitgeist, it's in the mainstream media, so people think they see things and that's what they see. But what's interesting is there will be people in other parts of the world that aren't exposed to mass media, and they're seeing those same things. But it comes in clumps, and certain times there's different things that we're seeing. So I don't understand,
like
having
a new model, like a new model car.
Right. That's one very strong possibility that it is. Another thing is that we do have a hive mentality where there's a super consciousness that we're all tapped into. And I don't know, I'm rambling, but it's also interesting to me. I love the mystery of it all. Do I want to have I would love to have the answers, but I'm okay with not having them right now because I can't anyway. I mean, the truth is not for sure. So anyway, I'm sorry I got off.
No, y'all just sound so smart, and I'm like, what was the question?
Well, I mean, I was thinking, everything gets blamed on Bigfoot. Everybody's like, oh, well, that was a Bigfoot. But I think people are seeing different things because, and I was like, what if this is like a ghillie suit that these subterranean people flying UFOs have? There's so much we don't know. We have to be open to it. But
and there's a possibility it's all true.
Yeah, but I mean,
or none of it's true. I don't
I
know.
listen to a lot of stuff, and I think that y'all know. I did an interview with a gentleman by the name of Joshua Cutchings, and
I'm familiar with him. Yeah,
I love him. He's so. I really need to call him. He's someone that's just fun to talk to, but he ties together the Bigfoot, the fairies, and the aliens, and he doesn't come out and say it, but I mean, he is a folklorist. He has done the research. He's a trained journalist, and he's written these books that basically, which I had been thinking all along, which is why when I found his stuff, I was like, well, there you go. It all is interchangeable. He also did a book on smells, just so you know, about the demonic smell of sulfur and people and the fairy. I mean, he really gets into the stuff, and Joshua, awesome. For anyone out there listening, check him out. He is phenomenal.
I need to revisit his work. He was one of the first ones back when I think I first heard of him on Coast to Coast or something like that.
Yeah. Well, on his website,
6 years ago. I haven't really listened to him much lately. I need to go
on Joshua's website, he has a list of every interview he's ever done. So if you want to go listen to him, that's the number one place to look because. But yeah, I heard him on was him and he's friends with a guy that does the Strange Familiars podcast, and they are friends with the guy who does Sasquatch Chronicles, and so they had appeared on there, and the conversation again just blew me away, and I was like, this guy he knows the stuff and all the stuff that I've been thinking, so it was just incredible. But yeah,
well, I got some homework. I need to go revisit him a little bit.
The last book he released was about souls.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that one. So yeah,
he's got a lot of good stuff. But yeah, incredible. But so like I said, I listen. I have a lot of varied interests, and that's where I get my ideas for my books from. So the research that I use is based on stuff that I've been studying for 30 years. It's not like I suddenly go, oh, well, this is my topic and I'm going to research. At where I'm at in life, it's just been a matter of I have a story to tell and this is what it's going to be. But this Dawnbreaker was really birthed from a song. There was a song that I liked, and I just kind of thought, okay, the feelings that it created was just kind of where I took it from, because I'll do a playlist, and I usually list the playlist in my books. So if someone wants to know what I'm listening to while I'm reading, I'll put it out there. And this one was a lot of like I said, the Celtic music or violin stuff, a lot of violin stuff. So yeah, I liked it.
Do you want to divulge what that song was, or do we want to wait?
Just wait.
Right. Okay. Because now we got to go. Now I'm like, okay, I got to. I have a question. Is it a popular mainstream song or just a song that you came across?
Well, there's a couple, and
okay. There's more than
but
one
like song. Okay, so in the story, it starts off with Nev is with her band, and they're at the bar, and she sings and plays, the instrument in the band. And so in my head, this is what she's singing. And so I developed the story around that. And, so this one, like I said, is very different. This which Purple Rain has a lot to do with this book. If y'all are a Prince fan. That's not the song, but Purple Rain, there's I had a friend of mine, and we might have been drinking. I'm not gonna say. But, this was when I graduated from college. We with my master's degree, and we had gone out and just did a girls' night, and ended up over at a Waffle House in Jackson, and
As you
played
do.
Purple Rain, and we're singing it. And I said, there's probably a YouTube video somewhere of us singing, and these 40-something-year-old white women singing Purple Rain at a Waffle House at 3 a.m. And so I might have put a scene similar to that in the book. But so I had it was more lighthearted and, fun than some of the other stuff I've written. So like I said, it was fun. It was a fun book to write. And it kind of it has there's more darkness that comes into it, but it's the Dawnbreaker, that's what my character is. That's what she comes into her hand of power over the course of the book, and that's her name. So
now in your series, well, this book particularly, but does the elfin kingdom, the fairy kingdom, and those beings, do they tend to be darker? Sometimes fairies are light and bright and airy, but sometimes they're kind of on the darker side. Is it like humans, where you've got your nicer ones and your not so nice ones?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's with anything, is you're going to have personalities, I should say, but
yes.
But there's and I haven't gotten into the Unseelie court yet, but I will go into in the future. That's going to be one, because I want to do a book for the characters that are going to be in charge of it. But it's not so much that they're bad, it's that they just don't put up with bullshit.
Yeah.
They just don't have a tolerance for lies. They don't have a tolerance. And that's something that I think that we see a lot of, and y'all are from here, so you understand when I say church nice. You see a lot of, and they don't have a tolerance for that. Just tell me the truth. Don't sugarcoat it. And so when people are speaking out of both sides of their mouth, they don't have time for that. At least in my world, that's the world that I'm developing. But to me, darkness and light are just two sides of the same coin. I find that, especially in our society today, that the more the people that I need to be aware of are the ones that have a smile on their face, and they're talking behind your back. There's that what you see isn't what you get with people. I'd prefer someone be very direct and straightforward and hurt my feelings than I would somebody pretend to be my friend and I find out secretly that they want to burn my house down at night.
Yeah.
So that's more of what I think of
the elven.
Yeah, I think that it's like I said, in this book particularly, the queen is like that. She's one of those that what you see isn't what you get, and that's not necessarily a good thing. She's beautiful and gorgeous, and she's shining and golden, and just the end all be all. But at the same time, she wants to keep her child locked up rather than have her out.
Yeah, I'm finding, walking through life, meeting people lately, the people who are more honest with what they're doing, if they're not keeping up with the Joneses, the authenticity. I want people who are authentic.
Yes, be you.
Yeah.
Be you. And
yes,
that's the key right there, is just be you.
Yes. Well, we're so excited about it being released, and thank you for coming on here. And we're so excited about everything that's going on with Wyrd Realities network to, and
And I did want to say so like I was going to go into this like at the beginning of the recording, that there's lots of topics that y'all cover and lots of different things that different people would be interested in. But do you feel like for a budding artist, primarily a budding author, someone who's trying to step into that new role for themselves, is that one of your target
Yes.
audiences? Yeah.
For lowballing with Joe specifically, Joe Hansen is someone I consider like a mentor in the writing field for independent writers. He's brilliant. He just retired to hopefully have a lot more time for me. But he is gearing all of his stuff towards having successful writers own who've made it themselves and talking about their path and what they've done and their advice for people just starting out. And so as we're growing, that's one of the areas we're trying to kind of focus on. And that's part of what we'll be doing, which I think y'all know that we're kind of moving towards. We're going to have some stuff available with different tiers to kind of help us keep the lights on, as I like to say. Which one of those is geared specifically towards independent writers. They're looking for some help with marketing, but it also is for podcasters and people like that. And that's the thing that I don't think people realize is we offer a lot to people who are really wanting to connect.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
We're not trying to make money off of anybody. We're, like I said, we're just trying to pay for our website and stuff. But we do a lot of stuff. We want to, make that, we want to give something of value back. But we do have a lot of writers that are happy to help and talk with anybody.
And we can speak as podcasters and as a community building group that we have. There's not a lot of room for streams of income to come in. So, we gotta, and it's a lot of hours and a lot of time and a lot of energy.
It's a labor of love. It really is.
It's a passion project. I mean, that's what I tell my husband all the time. This is a passion project, but we still have to pay Zoom costs. We got to pay website costs. We got to do promotionals. Like there's expenses.
Oh, definitely. And
even if we're like, we're doing this out of the kindness of our heart, there's still expenses to do it. So
exactly. And that's one of the things that, I had been shouldering the cost for everything for my entire team for 2 years. And one of my people is like, you can't do that. We should all be chipping in. And that's kind of where I'm at is, Wyrd Realities and, everything else should be self-sufficient.
Yes.
But I will say this, and this is for you budding podcasters out there. No one gets into podcasting to make lots of money. It is a time suck. It is, and it is.
You better make it fun. You
got to enjoy it. You got to love what you're doing and who you're talking with, and you got to have. And there are people out there who take it way more serious, and they're very, And I'm hoping we get more, professional as we go. But right now, we all just enjoy talking with each other. And, like I said, for our stuff is geared just towards people who have a curious mind, really. But we do stuff from true crime to movie reviews to talking about books to talking about metaphysical things and everything in between. But that's what you got to understand. It's for people who didn't have those people to talk to, suddenly finding those folks. And
I want to go ahead.
I was gonna say that's kind of what we're about is if you're coming and you're looking for someone who is the grand poobah of knowing everything, you're at the wrong place, because we're just a bunch of curious cats and kittens who get together and talk.
Right. There's go Google somebody else. But no, I wanted to get back to the author thing. So, and I mean, this may kind of tie in with your different tiers for Patreon as you're moving toward that. If are y'all open to people? So not everybody who are independent authors are into metaphysical things or paranormal things. They may not be into zombies. Are you targeting? Will there be resources available to any independent writer, fiction, nonfiction?
Yes.
And they're just interested in, I want a support group of other people who we can exchange ideas and resources about me writing and getting a book self-published. But they're not into any of the other stuff y'all are doing. Will they still find a place with y'all?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Well, and you got to keep in mind, while some of my authors have written zombies, not all of us have. I've not written zombies. That's not my thing. Like I said, that was a period I went through where I listened to it. When we talk about our weird stuff that we offer, we'll be offering, I mean, like, we've got a guy that's going to be doing a prepping show. But in addition to that, which Morgana worked with me, if we were doing disaster preparation, we're going to have stuff for disaster preppers up there, for people who need to know what to have prepared for during a hurricane.
I was like, because we do have hurricanes.
Well, yeah, I mean, people
storms. That's real.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by, a lot of people don't know about how bad we were hit by Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
But we lived through that. So again, were we more prepared for the pandemic? Yeah, because we knew have all that bottled water. I have bottled water. I think I just ran out that I had prepped for 2 or 3 years ago when it was getting ready for hurricane season.
Well, Hadley, thanks for coming on with us. We're excited about your release on March 17th. And we will put all that information on our blog post on our website, metaphysicalms.com, and give the information to your website as well as the Wyrd Realities website and the Hadley Thorne website.
Okay. Well, first off, thank you for having me, and I look forward to talking to y'all every time we get to talk. And anybody that's wanting to find me online can find me using my link tree. It's linktr.ee/Hadley_Thorne with an E. Wyrd Realities is going to be the same, but it's Wyrd Realities still with Linktree. And my website is hadleythorne.net, and Wyrd Realities is Wyrd with a Y. And so that'll be wyrdrealities.net. So they just got, both of them just got a facelift. So check them out.
Yes, thank you.
And I cannot wait for this new book to come out. I'm almost finished with Running and Gunning. So I'll be ready. I'll be ready for the next one.
All right.
Thank you, Hadley.
Yeah,
Thanks, ladies.
All right, bye.
The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent.